We know that growth is not linear, right? Have you asked yourself what stage are you in? Fam, welcome back to Entrepreneur Mindset Series again. All right, let's talk about the stages of growth. We all know that growth is not linear, all right? Just like everything else. There's stages to everything. There's stages to life. There's stages to prosperity. There's stages to success. Growth, personal growth specifically, is no different, right? So one of the things that I come across all the time, especially in the coaching space, is mindset issues, right? 80% of the stuff that we aim to accomplish is really driven by the mindset, not the technical aspect of things. I mean, it's crazy, but if your mindset is right, a lot of the rest of the things are gonna sit in place. It's just gonna click, right? So with that being said, I wanna break down the 4 stages of personal growth. And before I jump right into it, I want to ask you, if you like the content that I'm putting out for you on a regular basis, subscribe, like, and share, and send this to somebody who you think might benefit from listening to all this stuff, right? So let's pay it forward a little bit. With that being said, let's talk about the stages, okay? The first one is going to be awareness. Anytime you get hit with the awareness of potential growth. I remember the first time, and I was talking about this on a podcast, but the first time that I realized that the whole even notion of personal growth was out there was because I came across the law of attraction, right? So a lot of people, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people kind of, broke their way into personal growth through the law of attraction. For me, I was one of those cases. So what it did though, it's not like I read the book or watched the movie and then walked away with the ability to visualize, right? But what it did is it planted a seed. It planted a seed of possibilities. It gave me the awareness, which is stage 1, I think. It gave me the awareness of understanding that there's something, bigger out there, right? So why not craft the life that I want to create, as opposed to just coasting through life and then, seeing what it gives me, right? Being intentional about it was one of the biggest things that I took away from that. So stage 1 being awareness. You probably remember, if you're in the path, if you're watching these videos, it's because you're interested in personal growth, right? So you probably remember the first time that, that book came across, that you had that conversation with that one person that pivoted your perspective somehow, some way, right? What is happening there is awareness, okay? It's like a seed. You're planting that and it's growing little by little by little, right? Maybe you don't see it in day 1, and day 2, day 3, right? But eventually it's gonna grow into something. And what happens after that, and you kind of break into stage 2, which is the theory. I like to call it the theory stage. I remember as that awareness kept growing and growing, I got more excited about it, right? So I started reading books on personal growth. I started reading books on, I went Tony Robbins, I went Think and Grow Rich. I jumped into real estate, so Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all kinds of things that really spoke to my mindset, right, where I was. So I started just building up this whole theory of what personal growth was. And I mean, at this point, during the awareness stage, you kind of feel a little bit confused because you're breaking into an area that you may not be familiar with, right? It's sometimes it's hard to get a grasp on the idea that you can actually visualize something and start manifesting and then building the life of your dreams. Now, from confusion, you go to excitement. And that's where things get really interesting, right? Because you start adopting and opening up your perspective. You start thinking about the bigger picture in a lot of things. And that can be a little bit different, right? So you're almost, I remember my friends and family used to look at me and was like, there's something different about this person. I don't know what it is, but it's different. And really what it was just the potential, the idea of the potential that could be created from the life that I wanted, right? But I'm stuck in theory. I haven't applied anything. I'm reading the books. I'm going through stuff that's telling me to meditate. I'm going through books that that are telling me to tap into masterminds. I'm going through books that are telling me to wake up at 5 a.m, do this, do that, do this and that. And as I went through more and more of that kind of stuff, I really kind of set it aside. I would read something and I would say, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm gonna write it down and it's gonna be in my journal. And then I would close that journal and then put it away and not do anything with it, right? So that's exactly how you get caught in the theory stage. Why? Because you're just reviewing and going through all that kind of information, but you're not really implementing, okay? So nothing's gonna change. If you're stuck in the theory stage, nothing is gonna change. What you need to do is shift into that action mode, right? And what does that look like? You actually do the stuff that the books that you're reading tell you, that the seminars that you're going to tell you, that the conversations that you're having with people, push you to kind of, feel in and take, those actions, right? Now ask yourself the question, how many times have you read something really good on a book, it inspired you, it motivated you, and it was something pragmatic, something actionable, something that you could actually start implementing, like waking up an hour earlier, right? Just as an example. But how many times have you read something like that and you say, oh my God, that's awesome, and then you put it aside and not ever touch it again, not ever even go back to visit it? How many times? That's exactly, again, how you get stuck in that theory stage, right? Now, to break away from that, nothing's going to change. There's not going to be any change. You may become the perfect philosopher, right? And know more than 99% of the population in theory about how personal growth works. But not until you take action, not until you actually apply that kind of stuff and you start throwing spaghetti on the wall, as I like to call it, to see what resonates with you, not until you do that kind of stuff, growth is going to happen, right? No growth is going to happen until you actually break into that area, right? You step out of your comfort zone and start doing things that are going to challenge you, right? So the emotion behind that action stage, which is the third one, is really going to be a sensation of being challenged. And that can be uncomfortable. Not a lot of people like to live there, right? But this is where the change happens. This is where really the rubber meets the road, right? Challenge happens. You keep pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You also start discovering what resonates with you at an individual level, which is really what we're looking for, right? At the end of the day, we're trying to grow. We can't grow. We're stuck in that little comfort zone all the time. We have to step away from it and tap into that bigger space that we know that we can tap into, okay? So, stage number 4, after action, is going to be growth. That's where you actually start growing. Something is going to give after. One of the analogies that I heard that I thought it was just brilliant is like, you go to the gym one day, right? You don't see biceps pop up. You go to the gym on day 2, you don't see your biceps pop up again. Day 3, you don't see any change, and everything looks similar, right? Even if you're busting your butt for the first week, you're still going to look the same way. It doesn't mean that nothing is happening underneath. That's what happens in the action stage. There's a lot of things happening within you, all right? So even though the emotions might be challenging, the space might be uncomfortable, there's a lot of growth, there's a lot of change that's happening within you at an individual level, at a subconscious level, at a mindset level, right? Now, fast forward, something is gonna click. Something's gonna give you that verification that you're looking for, that you're stepping into a higher level, okay? That you're fine-tuning the vision that you wanna craft. And that you're actually growing as an individual. That's growth. When you get into that space of growth, a sensation of responsibility just kind of dawns on you. Not responsibility from a bad standpoint, from a blame standpoint or anything, but a responsibility of self. Okay, emotional responsibility. The path becomes your responsibility. Instead of pointing fingers outwards, you start looking inwards and really just kind of flourishing from within, as far as solutions, as far as direction, as far as the path that you feel like you have to take in life. Now it becomes more of a responsibility than this just far-fetched dream, right? And it's a beautiful thing when you have the ability to come full circle and understand that it all started with awareness. It all started with a seed. It started with a conversation. It started with a video. It started with a podcast, with a book. Who knows? Every journey is different, but it started somewhere as awareness. That awareness grew into theory. That theory grew into action. Then that action grew into that sense of growth, okay? That space that you're in, and it's ever evolving. That's a constant. That one never ends. You're always on a growth path. You're always gonna be growing and evolving, okay? We're either growing or dying. Simple as that. Stay focused. You got this.